Lovely day. Showing up.
We're going to move right along, and we're going to introduce Reverend out of Fremont, who is doing some very wonderful things out there by the grace of God. He has a wonderful congregation, but the leadership is only representative, I guess, of the congregation of people that follow him. He's married with 3 children, has been married for 9 years. We'd like to bring out this brother, and he's going to speak on the topic, Menace to Society. Can we please welcome, please, Reverend Ray Jones, pastor of the Fremont Bible Fellowship. Let's welcome him on.
Amen. I'm going to ask if you would. I'm going to inconvenience you just a little bit. Some of you have been sitting for quite a while. Some of you may not be as young as the rest of us, so this may be difficult for you. I'm going to ask if you would just stand. Amen. Let those knee bones pop. And I'm going to ask if you would just come a little closer. I can't see too well. So would you please, if you can, I'd appreciate it if you would just come down a little closer in this knoll area right here. Amen. If you can, I'd really appreciate it. And while you're on your way, you just may want to say hello to somebody you don't know. Amen. Let me hear by putting your hands together, how many of you believe that the family is worth saving? Oh, it don't sound like too many people, but let me ask that again. How many of you believe by putting your hands together that the family is worth saving? Amen. We can make more noise than that for a football game. Let me ask that one more time. And I know a family is more important than a football game. How many of you believe that your family is worth saving? The theme that has been chosen for this tremendous occasion implies within the statement, save the family, that something is going desperately wrong with the family in our country, America. And I don't think that you have to be a brain surgeon. I don't think that you have to be necessarily brilliant in man's eye to recognize, as we see what is happening on our streets, as we see what is happening in our schools, as we see what is happening in corporate America, and yes, even what we see happening in many of our churches, the family is falling apart. Many of us can attest that years ago, all of us probably had at least one person in our family who was a pillar in the family. At least one person that when everything else fell apart, you could call on grandmama, you could call on granddaddy, and they would always be there with a word from God to help you in your situation. How many of you had somebody in your family like that? But right now in our society, something tragic is happening. Many of our grandparents and many of our loved ones who love the Lord are now dying and going on to the other side. And now we have so many young people in what I would consider to be my generation and the generation above who have lost focus and lost sight on what it really means to be, to live up to the responsibilities that God gave all of us. And when he created us with responsibilities. It's sad to see in our society, and I'm just going to focus for these few moments that I've been given here today on the African American community. On the African American community. On the African American community in this country we call America. Something has gone wrong in our families and in our neighborhoods. And I'm here today to tell you that I personally believe that it is not the result of race problems in our country. But there is a menace in our society, and his desire is to destroy, his desire is to pull down, his desire is to keep each and every one of us who are here from reaching our potential as God through Christ has created us to reach. Can somebody say amen in here today? You know, I found that in our country, and I'm going to be critical of our people, that among African Americans, we like to treat symptoms, but we don't want to focus on the causes. It's similar to most of us have experienced, and we've had colds in our life. Some of you right now may have a cold. And a runny nose is a symptom of a virus that's in your body. And we know that in our society, there is nothing that can treat or nothing that can cure a cold. So what we do is we concede defeat to the virus and we treat the symptoms. And I believe that when we point our fingers at people of other races, that's treating a symptom. When we rely upon government rather than the love of God, rather than the love of the Lord Jesus Christ, we are treating symptoms. When we rely more upon red and more upon blue and more upon our territory than we do the love of God, we are treating symptoms. When our young men are shooting one another down and young men are disrespecting women and women are disrespecting themselves, we are treating symptoms rather than the cause. When we have so many of our young men who are more caught up, as many of you young men are here right now, looking cool and dressing cool and walking a certain way and hanging out rather than allowing God to use your life, we are treating symptoms rather than the cause. I wish I had somebody with me today. And this menace in our society, he's not white, he's not black, he's not a Crip, he's not a Blood, he's not a Democrat, he's not a Republican, he's not on the top of the penthouse, on the top of that building, but his name is the devil, and his desire is to destroy every last one of us here right now. Now, because they only gave me a couple of minutes, I need to share with you 3 ways in which in the African American community this menace has been destroying us for decade after decade. And the first way that this menace has been destroying our society is in the form of materialism. I tell you, in this country there are no other people that are as materialistic as African Americans in this country. I don't need nobody to say amen to that. I know what I'm talking about. You see, it is not poverty that is strangling our communities. I remember when I was a young man and mama didn't have much money, but everything mama had in the house, mama paid for it before it got in the house. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Mama had furniture because she worked hard for it. She used to put plastic on the furniture, and that would tell the young folk, don't you come in this here room because I've worked hard day and night to put this furniture in this room. But we have young people today, we have adults right now, rather than working hard to put character in their young people, they are teaching them and wrapping them up in clothing rather than putting God's character within their hearts. I remember when I was growing up and we had some of the fanciest cars. We had some of the most sharpest dressed people in our community. But the problem was we wore it, we drove in it, but we did not own anything in our community. We paid rent to somebody else. We took our money somewhere else rather than keeping our money right where it belonged. And materialism has caused so many young men to violate so many young ladies. Materialism has caused so many young men, rather than spending their time in the books, they're spending their time with gangs and with partners. Why? Because they want to look a certain way, and they want to act a certain way, and they want to appear a certain way. And I'm here today to tell you that materialism is killing our community. And even when we have African Americans who climb up out of the inner city, yet rather than spending time with their children, they are clothing their children with guests and with cross colors and with all of these expensive clothing. Children don't need clothes. Children need a mama and a daddy who will love them and pour their lives into them. But not only is materialism killing our community, alcoholism is killing our community. I said alcoholism is killing our community. I learned something a couple of days ago about alcohol. And one of the reasons why I understand now why Satan has allowed it or has poured it down the throats and into the lives of so many of not only our young people, but so many adults who may even be in this place right now. We have parents trying to tell their children to stay off of crack, but you got a bottle stashed somewhere in your house. I remember how my mama used to tell me, don't you smoke, boy, but then she would give me her cigarette, send me to the stove, light her cigarette. By the time I got back to her, that cigarette was nothing but a butt. Come on, somebody. Amen. But I learned that alcohol is how Satan is destroying particularly so many of our young men who are right here in this park right now. I learned that alcohol is a poison. Alcohol is a toxin. And the minute you put it in your body, your blood cells grab that poison, and that poison has one destination, and that destination is your brain. And alcohol is a chemical depressant that is designed to cause you to lose sense of your soberness or your awareness, so that Satan, through his temptations and through his luring, can cause you to become less and settle for less than what God would have for you to have. And it is tragic today that the #1 contributor to the United Negro College Fund is the alcohol and the tobacco industry in America. So many of our young men are hanging out on liquor stores right now, and you need to understand why. We're not dealing with something that is physical, we're dealing with something that is spiritual. Satan has depressed the minds of the average African-American teenage boy so that he will settle for less than what God has for him. And that's why our young men think it's cool and think it's hip, and now they have Ice Cube, and now they have artists on television, and now they have them holding these bottles and this Coke and this Cobra and all of that, and this Coke, 16 or 32 ounce bottles, telling our young men that it's cool and it's hip to put alcohol. No, it ain't cool and it ain't hip to put alcohol in your body. Your body is not a trash can. Your body should become the temple of God through his Holy Spirit. But it's sad when so many of our parents are wrapped up and drowning out their pain with alcohol and with drugs, rather than standing on their own 2 feet so that our children will have a role model after which to pattern themselves. But I ain't got too much time, so I need to give you this third menace in our society. This third menace is called escapism. This is not only materialism, wrapping yourself up, not only in alcoholism, drowning it out through intoxication, but thirdly, through escapism. And escapism is the drug problem that we have in our community right now. I learned something in the Old Testament in Palestine. They used to use drugs. There's a word used in the Old Testament of the Bible from which we get the word sorcery, or from which we get the word pharmacist. That was the word from which we get drugs, or people who dispense drugs. And the purpose of drugs in the Old Testament was used to create an environment within an area so that demonic influence can come into that area and hold that area in bondage. If you want to know why crack is so difficult to break in our community, it is not about crack, but it is about demonic influence that has been ushered in because drugs has caused people to escape from the reality of their situation. But in actuality, Satan has a stronghold. That's why some of you right now, some of you got folk in your family will tell you they want to let go of crack, tell you they want to let go of drugs, but they'll tell you, mama, it's something that I can't control. It's because they are running from poverty, running from the pain of past relationships, thinking that they are escaping when all the while they are falling into the clutches of this menace to our society. And I want you to understand that all of this is great and it's grand, and we need more of this in our cities. But understand that this only treats a symptom. People will come to this, eat the food, listen to the singing, clap their hands, and go back off and escape. Go back off in materialism. Go back off in alcoholism. It's time for you to realize, yes, there is a menace in our society, but I thank God there is a Messiah in our society. And his name, and I know that some of you may not believe this, but his name is the Lord Jesus Christ. He's the one that got many of our foreparents out of and standing on their own 2 feet. And now we have people, now we have in our community, we want to rely upon success, rely upon education, rely upon climbing up. You can't climb up and out until Jesus has climbed into your heart and he has allowed you to turn from materialism, alcoholism, and escapism. Why would you want clothing when you can be clothed in the love of God? Why would you want to be filled with wine when you can be filled with the joy of God? Why would you want to escape to a menace when you can hide under the shelter of the Almighty? I'm here today to tell somebody, you better beware of this menace, because programs, Clinton, Supreme Court, the White House, the State House, will not make a difference within our community, because we are not dealing with the physical problem. We are dealing with the spiritual problem. Each and every one of us better beware of this menace to our society by coming to know the Messiah who's walking the streets of our society. God bless you.
Get it? All right, let's please give Brother Reverend Ray Jones of Fremont Bible Fellowship another round of applause, please. All right. And what I like to express is that this is a family event. All of us have families. All of us may have different beliefs, but we all have a family. So depending on what your belief or what your faith is, that's your preference and that's your choice. God has given us a will. But all of us have families. And we are here at the program to address the family. And everybody may need a different way to have their family addressed. But we hope that we won't leave out anybody who needs to be addressed in whatever way it might be, to know that the theme is whatever you choose, whatever road, save your family, save the family. What we like to do right now is, I'd like to introduce a person that is within our community. He's an imam over in San Francisco. The imam of the San Francisco San Francisco Muslim Center. He's been imam over there since '84, and it's been established since 1978. He is going to introduce a well-known person, but we're going to bring up right now Brother Imam Abu Qadir Al-Amin. Could we all bring him up with a round of applause, please?
Assalamu alaikum. That is, may the peace that only God can give be upon you. I am very thankful to be here today and to participate in this Save the Family Day. We have enjoyed the entertainment, the wonderful presentations that have been put on here today for our spiritual enjoyment and for our enjoying the importance of this occasion. We actually consider the entertainment, the singing, and the dancing to be excellent, but we consider that to be like hors d'oeuvres that are really just getting us ready for the main course. The Reverend from Fremont, he served one of the dishes on the main course. I think if we had more of that spirit in our communities today, we wouldn't have some of the problems that we're complaining about today. He has a healthy spirit. We need a healthy spirit, and we need a vision. We need values and principles that we stand upon to take us forward. The individual that I'm about to introduce to you, for many of us who are from the Muslim community, we have looked up to this individual as a giant among men in our community for years. All of my life, I have heard about him. All of my Muslim life, I've heard about his stellar work, his good work, and his standing as a role model, as a father figure, and also as a brother. He comes from a family of achievers. His uncle was a member of Marcus Garvey's movement, and he named him at birth. He was one of the rare individuals born, I think, in the 40s, maybe the 30s. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he was born with the name Abdul Karim. This name was given to him at birth. His mother was a member, a lieutenant in Marcus Garvey's movement. He was a lieutenant and a minister in the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he has also been a productive imam under the leadership of Imam W. Muhammad. Imam Abdul Karim Hassan, he is a hard-working individual who is constantly working to advance the interests of his people. He has worked closely with many well-known individuals such as Malcolm X. He was one of his contemporaries. They worked together on the East Coast in spreading al-Islam and establishing Islam in the 50s and the 60s. He came here to California in the 70s and he has been working ever since. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you your brother and mine, Imam Abdul Karim Hassan. Please give him your utmost attention. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, I would like to show my appreciation and my thanks to those in this community that have put together such a wonderful idea and a wonderful program. A program that is designed to bring certain issues to the mind of mostly the African American people. I would like to begin, first of all, by reciting a verse, or a part verse, from the Muslim Holy Book called the Quran. In the Quran, there's a verse that reads, "Save yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is men and stones." Now, I believe that this verse from the Holy Quran fits the theme of this event today. Save yourselves and save your families. You know, I believe that that is a very, very important sentence, and all of us should consider it. Save yourselves and save your families. Those of us that are in the saving business, or in business that we call the saving business, and all counselors and judges and lawyers and ministers and preachers and rabbis and imams and priests, they are in the saving business, or at least trying to share some information with individuals that will perhaps save them from some of the destructive forces in the society. The Quran says, save yourselves and save your families, which suggests to us that before you can save anyone, you must first save yourself. If we ourselves are victim to the vices of society, there is no power within us to save others, because we are not saved. To save others from these particular vices of society, we must first save ourselves. But the verse specifically says, save yourself, and the next on the list for saving must be your family. Now, to escape the destruction from the pressures of this world, we must concentrate on internal development, internal discipline. For if you don't have discipline, if you can't make the right choice and decide for or against certain things that are enemies to your health and to your well-being, then you have not developed inner internal discipline. We must concentrate on developing internal responsibility, internal self-worth, and internal self-esteem, and in the process promote those things in society that are necessary for the stability and advancement of society, such as family strength, education, and ethnic businesses. We must, and as a brother I say this to you, stop acting and thinking like our situation, whatever it is, is a situation of hopelessness. The life of President Mandela of South Africa is a lesson of hope, not hopelessness. They learned that apartheid was and is not a state, but a state of mind. In other words, they learned that if you think that you are locked in, you are locked in. If you think that there is no hope for you, there is no hope for you. If you think that there is not a chance or an opportunity for you to succeed in life, there is no opportunity and you cannot succeed. We have to look at the importance of what God has given us. God has given us faculties to deal with the situation that confronts the human being. All of the creation, or what we call the animal creation, smell, breathe, it eats, it tastes, it feels. In other words, it is blessed with the five senses. So we are no different from the animal world in terms of the five senses. For they all see and breathe like we do. They live, they're born, and they die. The difference in the human being, the great blessing that Allah has given him, is the fact that the human being has a faculty, and that faculty is called a mind, and that mind is placed in the part of his body that is called the head. And to show us how important the head is, and how important we must consider this head, or we must place upon this head, God gives us a message in birth. When we come into the world physically, we come into the world head first. If we come in feet first, it is called a breech birth, an incorrect birth, a birth that perhaps represents many harm to the child. Broken arm, broken shoulder, many other problems. But if the child come out like God intended, head first, then that child is coming out correctly. So the child comes out of the mother head first, because the head is the house of the mind. And that mind housed in the head is extremely important. And God continues to show the man, the woman, the human being, how important that head is. That head comes out first. Then when that baby starts to crawl around, the head moves out front. Then when that baby begins to walk, the head ends up on top. Ends up on top to show that this particular creature or this particular human being is not a creature that should be governed by any other part of his body except the head, which houses the mind. So as long as the head is clear, as long as our head is clear, as long as our faculties are clear, as long as we can think clearly, as long as we don't clog up and fog up our mind, the faculties to resist, the faculties to overcome, the faculties to destroy the pressures of society rest with the human being. The human being creates the problem, and the human being can solve the problem. As long as the head is clear, free of foreign control, free of the likes of alcohol, free of the likes of cocaine, free of the likes of marijuana, free of the likes of cigarettes. And you know, oftentimes we don't think that there's a big problem in cigarettes. As long as we destroy the drugs, as long as we destroy the cocaine, but the cigarettes are as much drugs and are as much a drain on the economics of African American and all other people that smokes. As far as their health and their physical strength is concerned, it is too important for us to think that it's unimportant, because that too has an effect upon the mind, and it causes the man to be addicted. And once you become addicted to something besides the addiction to the worship and the believing of God, then you are addicted to something that has not only controlled your mind, but has also put itself in the position to control your body. These things that destroys the mind also destroys the body. So we are here today to save the family. But how can you save the family when you're not saved? And you cannot be saved unless you can develop the inner strength and the inner power and the inner discipline to walk past the drugs that are being sold, to walk past the alcohol that is being sold. We're told that hopelessness is the lot of many people. But hopelessness in any particular situation is nothing but a state of mind. Free the mind, you free the individual. Free the individual, you free the family. Free the family, and you free your community. Free your community, you free your society. Free your society, and you free civilization. Save yourselves, and then save the family. God made our head of the utmost of importance. Therefore, we should make sure that what goes in it is most important. A common weakness of some people is to blame others for their predicament. There are a lot of blame to go around. Some people blame the white man for his record, historical record. Some people blame the liquor stores for selling the liquor. Some people blame the drug pusher for selling the drugs. Some people blame the cigarette seller for selling the cigarettes. But where's the blame for the poor sap that has a choice? In this world, we have choices. Where's the blame for the poor sap who have made the choice to patronize the drug pusher? Where's the blame for the poor sap who have made the choice to patronize the seller of cigarettes? Where's the blame for the poor sap who made the choice to go into the liquor store and buy the alcohol? The alcohol will be there. The drugs will be there. The cigarettes will be there. Where's the strength? Where's the inner strength? Where's the inner strength? Where's the inner discipline that strengthens us against taking our hard-earned money, going out of our way in most cases, into the liquor stores and looking up the drug pushers to purchase these things that are destroying our mind, destroying our bodies, destroying our families, and destroying our communities? We must stop looking around for people to blame. We blame everything and everybody except pointing the finger where the blame belongs. No one make us buy drugs. No one make us buy cigarettes. No one and nothing make us buy alcohol. These things are done by us who have made a choice. If you want to dry up the drug dealer, teach people to develop the inner strength to avoid the use of drugs. If you want to dry up the cigarette companies, teach people to give up smoking cigarettes. If you kill the market, you will kill the product. The product will always be here, but will the market be here? The only way to destroy the market or to destroy the drugs, to destroy the alcohol, to destroy the cigarettes is to destroy the market. And the only way that you and I can destroy the market is to destroy the urge within the people who are the market to use these things, not for the betterment of themselves and their families, but to their detriment. So blame. When are we going to accept some of the blame? We blame the things that we can see, and we blame the things that we cannot see. But ultimately, at some point in our lives, we're going to have to look at our own self and the choices that we make and make a decision whether to involve ourselves in these particular vices that destroys people, or whether we are just going to continue to point the finger at someone else. So what if we were brought over here 400 years ago? We are here, and that's a fact. So what if we don't bring in the drugs of the country, that the drugs are brought in by the rich and by the political? So what if we don't make the alcohol? Does it mean that if we brought it in, we wouldn't say anything? Does it mean if we made it, it would be better? It doesn't matter who makes it. What matters is that we have to concentrate on developing the inner strength within ourselves to resist these things. You know, our brother spoke earlier, and I read the Bible quite often. And in the book it says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Well, if you resist the drug dealer, what can he do? He will avoid you. If you resist going into the liquor store, what will they do? You don't have to demonstrate against liquor stores. You don't have to demonstrate against the drug pusher. Demonstrate against the customer. Demonstrate against those who use the drugs and help them, save them. But if you are one of the users yourself, save yourself from the drugs, save yourself from the alcohol, save yourself from these things, and then turn around and save your families. To use, abuse, or refuse, that's the question for us. The choice is to buy or to bypass. That is the choice for us. This world will crush you. This world will crush you like a can that has been emptied of air. If you don't develop the inner strength, if you don't develop the inner power to resist the pressures of this society. This society will crush you if you don't rise up and develop the self-esteem and the self-worth in your own self and save yourself from this terrible crime that is being committed not by others against you, but by yourself. Save yourself and save your families. The cure of the addicted begins when they begin to stop blaming others and start blaming self for their own weaknesses and for their own ability or inability to not be able to walk past a cigarette without picking up that cigarette, putting it in his mouth. That cigarette has no power. That cigarette can't move. It is inanimate. It has no strength. The strength of the cigarette is what we give it. Alcohol has no power. It cannot force itself into your system. It cannot wish itself into your system. It has no power to do this. We give the alcohol the power by giving up our power. And as we consume it, then it consumes us. Cocaine has no power. The only power that it exercises over you and I is the power that we give it. So we take back our power. If we take back our influence, if we take back our strengths, the alcohol, the drugs, and the cigarettes will not have the power to do what it has done to this society and other societies. So let us stop blaming the liquor stores because they sell liquor. Let us stop blaming the drug pusher because they're selling the drugs. If a man is addicted to drugs, he will find it wherever it is. You can move it out of the black community into the white community. But if you are addicted to alcohol, the people will leave the black community and go to the drugs, go to the white community to get it. Forget about where the drugs are. Forget about where the liquor stores are. Forget about where the cigarettes are. Work on strengthening or work on developing the inner strength of your congregation. Work on developing the inner strength of the people in your family. Your congregation is your family. That's your first congregation. Work on developing the inner strength in yourself. Then work on destroying that particular influence that these physical things have over members of your own family. So stop blaming others, but put the blame where the blame belongs. No one make us buy anything. No one make us use anything. They only sell it. So we must blame ourselves for buying it. Many people will say, well, if they remove it, we won't have an opportunity. But there are a lot of things the stores sell that you don't buy. The stores sell rat poison. But you don't buy rat poison because you know rat poison will kill you instantly. The stores sell lye. You don't buy lye and then drink it because you know that that will kill you instantly. So you know what you're doing. You have the choice. You have the power to make the choice. God has given you the faculties to make the choice. But we have to accept the fact that we have made the wrong choices. And by making the wrong choices, we find ourselves in the predicament that we are today. So brothers and sisters, I say to you, our old folks used to say, I used to hear my mother and father used to say that you could take a mule to water, but you couldn't make the mule drink it. Well, if you don't drink, you can walk into a bar and out of a bar and not be touched. If you don't use drugs, you can walk past the drug pusher on the corner and it wouldn't bother you except to anger you that this guy is standing on the corner in broad view. If you don't smoke, you can go in and out of a liquor store or in and out of a cigarette store and it won't bother you. If you don't do these things, those things wouldn't bother you. Dry up the market. Save yourself from the market. Save yourself from the pressures of society. And if you save yourself from the pressures of society, you can save your family. But if you cannot save yourself, you cannot save your family. Save yourself, the Holy Quran says, and then save your family. Save your family from, it says, from a fuel, from the fuel. From the fuel, or from the fire, whose fuel is men and stones. That the fuel here is telling us that there are many things in society that fuels your desire, that fuels your want or your love of something. But we have the power. Nothing has power over us. There's another verse in the Holy Quran that says, Satan calls and you come. But Satan has no power over you other than the power that you give Satan. Satan can only call you. Satan can only insinuate to you. Satan can only suggest to you. But you have to accept Satan's suggestion. You have to accept Satan's insinuations. You have to accept whatever Satan has promises you. For Satan has promised man and will always promise man. But as long as man don't develop the inner strength to deal with the insinuations of Satan, he will be crushed by the society that is influenced by Satan. Develop the inner strength. Develop the inner self-worth. And if we develop that, we can save ourselves, and in the process, we can save our families. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, let's all thank Brother A.K. Hassan again for his khutbah. Let's round of applause, please. Okay. Okay, we are coming down to a close, and I thank you all for bearing with us, really. I would just like to say this. Did you hear the commonality that was there? The commonality between the Reverend and the Imam. Let us focus on our commonalities, and let us put aside our differences. Because if we try to come together and we put differences in the equation, we're not going to solve anything. But based on commonality, though, there's a lot to unify for, and there's a lot that we can take care of.
Lovely day, showing up. For Muslims, it's a lovely day. Show your right. Lovely.